Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey, and Daytona, Florida. So we just finished up a wiring rescue on a Cadillac Escalade. It's a newer body style Escalade. So as soon as the customer called, I knew it was going to be an issue because not very many shops can do these vehicles properly. The wiring is tricky. This one had the 20 speaker system from factory. It has speakers in the headrest. There is no A to B module or Zen module available to make the installation easier, so it's got to be done the long, hard way. So few of the customers' complaints, he said if he turned the bass up more than 4 clicks, the bass would shut off, the bass amp was overheating, the factory speakers, none of them were working. So the only speakers working was the 2 tweeters and the 4 mids that they added, plus the bass. So the entire factory sound system was offline. Problem with doing that is you no longer get backup sensors and factory warnings. Then we pulled it apart. In order to do one of these vehicle properly, you need some sort of interface, some sort of module that takes signal from the factory channels and then convert them and give you channels that are EQable, time alignable. You could set your crossovers, you could do signal summing. There's no way you're going to take a 20 speaker setup and upgrade it with 4 speakers and a 4-channel amplifier. So we gave him a couple different options on how to repair it. He chose the option he chose, and we went ahead. And I feel bad because he spent thousands of dollars to get this fixed after spending thousands of dollars to get it installed the first time. First thing they did was they cut up the factory speakers. Instead of making them out for the new speakers, they butchered the factory speakers and then screwed the new speakers into the factory speakers. The speaker they destroyed was more expensive than the speaker they installed. The tweeters weren't even mounted, they were just pressed in place on top of the 6.5. They used all aluminum wiring, copper-clad aluminum wiring. We had to take it all out and run oxygen-free copper wiring. The reason the factory speakers weren't working is they cut the outputs of the factory speaker and then they used $10 line low converters. They used 3 of them and then used the factory speaker to feed signal to the new speaker in the doors. So we had to reconnect all the factory speakers, all the factory wiring to get the factory amplifier to power the factory speakers again. Then we ran wires into the front and rear doors. They chopped the factory speaker. They broke a bunch of clips behind the panel. They broke some of the factory connectors. We still have no idea where the rear harness went for the rear tweeters. We got to call the dealer and see if we can get those for the client. So after we got everything repaired, the impedance on the amplifier is too low. The amplifier could only handle a 2 ohm impedance. The woofer was wired down to below 1 ohm. So we had to fix that. Had to go with a more powerful amplifier to run this powerful 13-inch W7 subwoofer. Got everything cleaned up, rewired, new fusing, new power wire, upgraded ground. The system sounds phenomenal. He has double the volume had before and 4 times the amount of bass, and everything works. The headrest speakers work, the tweeters, the dashboard, everything works again. So he's super happy and he's planned to do some more upgrades in the future. Be careful when you have a high-end vehicle like this. Make sure you vet the shop, make sure they've done the vehicle before, and make sure they go over how they're going to wire it and what's going to continue to work and what's going to stop working. He went to a shop that looked like they did good work. They swear they've done these vehicles before, and it's been nothing but problems since he picked it up. So we're able to fix it for him and make him happy, hopefully gain a client for life. Check out what we did for him. The shop also used PRV speakers in this build. Not that they chose a bad speaker, they chose the wrong speaker. For this application, needed the mid-range, which are the same price, it's just a different part number. They used the mid-bass. So where the customer is looking for loud vocals, the mid-bass speakers just do not play in that frequency range. So we ended up swapping those out for Beyma mid-range speakers. And that gave him the sound he was looking for. A lot more output, sounded clear. You just can't EQ a speaker designed to play mid-bass to have good voice. It's not what it's designed for. Check it out. All right, so a bunch of mistakes we have to fix on this Escalade. First, we had to cut the subwoofer wire to get the subwoofer out because there's no quick disconnect. Then guess they didn't have enough money for distribution blocks, so they tried to make one. Then we don't use the Clarion crossover on high-end car. These guys went and used a copy of the Clarion crossover. And I want to know how they're processing a 20 speaker system with a 6-channel crossover. PRV amplifier running a bunch of speakers. And then the biggest problem is the jail audio amplifier they use is the wrong one. This one does not play below 2 ohms. That enclosure is 1.5 ohms. So you go 2 clicks up and the bass stops playing. So the car is here for wiring rescue, DSP. Let's see what else we find as we get deeper into it. So I guess the previous shop didn't have a router table because they gutted the factory speaker and used it as a mount. No. And they did not do a good job of it either. Now this speaker is like $600 each at the dealer. Shop better hope the customer never wants to go back to factory. And of course they use CCA aluminum wire. And look at the way they ran it. Oh my God. And the worst possible ground ever. Grounded to the seat bolt. Terrible. We figured out why none of the factory speakers were playing. Instead of tapping in for the signal, they cut it. So now it's not passing signal through the factory amplifier. And they used the world's cheapest line level converters. Instead of using an integration piece. There's so many integration pieces they could have used. They could have used the audio control, the LC series. They could have used Audison. Wow. These are about 10 bucks a piece, so $30 worth of quote-unquote signal processing. But we're gonna make it right. Okay, so they ran a remote wire, ran out of wire, spliced it, then went about another foot, spliced it again, and then it magically turns from black to blue. Nice. So splice, 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 and I'm sure there's another one in the front. So we're gonna keep this and give it back to the customer because I'm sure he has some questions for the shop that did it. Also, it was flowing so much current, it was melting the bottom. You see that? That's the plastic bubbling from too much heat. So this is what we're gonna use. So it's got dual 0 gauge inputs, then an output for each amplifier and a fuse for each amplifier. Much more safe and professional than doing that. So they left the factory wire. We're actually gonna run it in through the door opening, inside the boot, through the other side of the boot, and then out. We're gonna do it on all 4 doors. So in case you're wondering the quality of the tweeters that they decided to install in this $100,000 truck, they destroyed the factory Bose 6-9 in the door. This speaker goes for $170 each used. I guarantee you that the factory speaker costs more than the speaker that they put in. And the aftermarket speaker was cheaper than the factory speaker they destroyed. Mind you, the price on the factory speaker is used. Brand new, it's like $350. They were even nice enough to poke a hole in the speaker for the client.
Take advantage, don't leave my heart damaged. I understand that things go a little bit better when you.
This came equipped with the factory AKG system, and we got all the factory speakers working again. Nice trim panel. cover up all the wiring. Everything's nice and neat under there. Added the Audison Nove processor, kept the PRV amplifier, upgraded the bass amplifier to an 80 audio.
Think up,